Hey, what's up? It's GW, it's Movie Talk, and just like I promised, today we're going to talk about one of the greatest period pictures that I have seen in a long time. It's called Boogie Nights. I mentioned that on the other review. In case you weren't paying attention, that's the name of the film. Stars Mark Wahlberg in his first full-length feature film, excuse me, and it has an all-star cast. I'm talking Burt Reynolds, Julianne Moore, Heather Graham, John C. Reilly, Don Cheadle, who's been on countless films. It's one of my favorite films because it portrays the early 70s going into the, or late 70s going into the early 80s. And it has to do with the adult entertainment industry. And at one point, if you guys ever have a conversation about the 70s, John Holmes' name will probably pop up as one of the most recognizable figures of the 70s. So, with that in mind, in this film, Paul Thomas Anderson took that idea, the drugs, the whole nine, adrenalized it, shot it into a cannon, and placed it on screen. The other thing that makes the movie pretty crazy is the soundtrack. I mean, he captured a lot of stuff from the 70s and early 80s. There's a sequence where Jesse's Girl is playing in the background toward the end of the film, and it's a sequence you will not forget. I'm telling you right now. But it goes along the lines of the Wolf of Wall Street movie where you can have everything that you wanted, right? But sooner or later you're going to fall. And when you fall, it's a harder fall than the climb going up. So climbing up the ladder to success in these movies are easy. But falling, not so good. This film also goes through the advent of when adult pictures were put on film. You see that in the translation to videotape, which I thought was a nice touch. It gives it a sense of realism and a sense of direction. Now, basically, the story is that porn director Jack Horner, played by the late Burt Reynolds, in a role that's pretty awesome, and his wife Julianne Moore are out having dinner. They're at a restaurant, and they meet 22-year-old Eddie Adams, who's played by Mark Wahlberg. Eddie's home life is not exactly picture perfect. It's not, the Waltons at his place, guys. So he decides that he's going to try to be a star. Well, when Jack Horner picks him up, they go on a quote-unquote audition. From there, guys, the movie takes an adrenaline shot to your arm and elevates you to the success of the 70s porn industry. Also in this movie, I can't think of his name. He's a little guy that played in Fargo. Jerry Lundegaard, he's in there. That name will come to me here in a minute. Anyway, he's in there. I can't think of his name, and I thought it would be on there. It's not. But anyway, Eddie ends up making friends with a lot of the people that are in the entertainment business. The Colonel Tom Parker, who you don't really see much of in this film, but he has a little bit of a role in it. Eddie changes his name to Dirk Diggler and basically fires into the stratosphere as far as a porn star. The first half of the movie deals with Eddie's success. The second half of the movie deals with things starting to fall apart. And if you guys checked out the trailer that I put on my playlist, you guys will see that. Eddie gets himself into drugs. Cocaine was huge back in the early 80s, and it is prevalent in this film as well. Eddie gets himself strung out on cocaine. He ends up tricking himself out on the corner to make an extra dollar. Jack Horner's empire starts to crumble, and the fact that some of his stars are having trouble financially. Roller Girl, played by Heather Graham, who I think is pretty awesome in this movie, decides to freelance it, and they try an experiment where they pick up a random guy on the street to be an adult star. Doesn't work. Eddie's replacement, who I can't think of his name, to tell you the truth. I don't think they gave him a name. If they did, I don't remember. Is not the same. He doesn't have the same personality as Eddie. And basically, at this point, Jack Horner is tired of directing porn. He's tired of everything. The culmination of the movie sees Dirk get fired from Eddie's, and then, like I was just saying, he ends up making a song called Feel My Heat, which was an actual song. It was made, and it was for the Transformers movie in 1985. So I don't know if somebody did it, Porn Star had made that song or what, but it's in there, and it was a real song, guys. I remember seeing the video. I Googled it up. Sorry, I apologize. I'm just waking up. It's about 4:30. So the end of the film, the climax, if you will, finds Eddie in the middle of a drug deal gone bad. And he ends up coming back to Jack and saying, I'm sorry. Which, today's standards, you don't work. If you're Chasey Lane and you destroy a porn set and you come back, guess what? They're not going to take you back. They're going to fire you. They're going to say, make your own way. This was directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and it is fact that Paul Thomas Anderson had some experience in the porn business, the adult film world, before making this. So a lot of this is pulled from The Legend of John Holmes, which, if you guys know anything about him, and I know there's a lot of people that do, there's another movie made about one of the most controversial moments, not only in entertainment, but in real life, called Wonderland. It's about the Wonderland murders, and it stars Val Kilmer and that girl who played Phoebe from Friends. I can't think of her name. But Wonderland deals with the Wonderland murders. And if you guys don't know what that is, that was something that I had heard about, never really checked out. And what happened in that film, I'm going to stray away from this film for a minute. What happened in that film, guys, was that after the porno had ended for John Holmes and he quit the business, because at the end of his career, he wouldn't do a movie unless he was coked out of his mind, and it was a mess. It really was. So he ends up buying drugs and not paying for them. And somewhere down the line, drug thing got screwed up, and the guy he bought the drugs from said, look, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to kill everybody that you're staying with, and you're going to ring the doorbell. The crime happened. It was pretty brutal. In fact, in Wonderland, I think they have a real life snippet where they take you around the house and they show you where the murders happened. So it's equivalent to the Manson family murder, only on a little bit of a smaller scale. John was supposed to face trial. He was supposed to get on the witness stand, but at that time, in the early 80s, HIV was running rampant through the porno world, and it got him. It killed him. He died of the virus, not AIDS. He was never able to stand trial and explain to the people what had happened. So that's a movie you might want to check out. Lisa Kudrow. No, she's not in there. Anyway, it's the girl from Friends. I thought it was Lisa Kudrow. It might be. I don't know. But definitely check that out. It's an interesting movie because it again deals with, you can have things so good and they can be screwed up so easily. But back to Boogie Nights. The special features included on this, because I got the collector's edition, and I always tell you guys, get that stuff. Has deleted scenes, the John C. Reilly files. What else has it got going on? 2 commentaries with PT, with all the actors. 10 deleted scenes. When when Anderson wrote the script, he had really put a lot of stuff in it. I mean, this movie is more like a ride, to tell you the truth. But there are scenes in here that were taken out. One of them deals with Dirk's classic red Corvette. And if you saw the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Very good scene. Another scene deals with just all kinds of things. But that one was the one that I liked the best. Because it really shows you... It really deals, that scene deals with Dirk being high on coke, trying to save another female porn star from getting beaten. And when he flies out of here, Mach 90, crashes his red Corvette, trashes it. And then him and John C. Reilly argue on how to get the dents out. It's pretty cool. This movie is so accurate, there's actually a mock Adult Film Awards in here. Let's see. Philip Seymour Hoffman is also in here. The late Philip Seymour Hoffman is in here too. And this is like an all-star cast. Now, of course, the movie's rated R, but as far as hardcore sex scenes, I think it's more the nature of the film. There is a sex scene between Mark Wahlberg and Julianne Moore. Other than that, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 simulated sex scenes. But the movie, like I told you, is more of a ride. There is a character in William Macy. That was the guy who played in Fargo. He's in here as Little Bill. I want to talk about him now that I know his name. Little Bill's character is he's the director of all Jack Horner's films. Or the cameraman. Sorry. And his job is to run the camera. Now, there is a real life porn star in here. Oh, what is her name? She was behind the green door. Crap, I can't think. I cannot think of her name, but she was in that movie From Behind the Green Door. Oh, it'll come to me. But that's his wife. And his wife ends up cheating on him all through the film. Every time they shoot a movie, she's out having sex with some guy. And New Year's Eve, 1979, Little Bill had had enough. He blows his brains out in front of the entire Horner porno family. He just can't take it. Marilyn, no, it's not. Yeah, it's Marilyn Chambers, but I don't think she's in this. But, again, you know, that was one of the things that sort of tore down or destroyed the porno industry. Depression leads to violence. I mean, in the movie, it's prevalent. I mean, there's all kinds of things. From the very first 20 minutes of the movie, you know, some girl overdoses on coke, and then you start to get it in your head that, you know what, this is as glamorous as this is. It's not a place to be. But for a movie to raise you up to almost, you know, you almost get a high watching this. And then when things start to fall apart in the second half of the film, you almost feel like you've crashed a car, you know? Now, interesting thing about this movie, whenever it was made, it was up for a couple of awards. I believe, guys, and I could be wrong, that it had won something. If not, it was up for something. It was up for either Best Picture, Best Director, and I think Burt Reynolds got something for playing his performance. Now, don't quote me on this, because I didn't see the movie till much later after it was released. Um, so yeah, it's definitely a heck of a movie. Pick it up on Amazon, and no matter what version you get, you're going to be transported back to the 70s, to an era where adult film was an underground thing, but it was a successful thing. You're also going to be shown, the evolution. And the colonel I talked about, he gets himself into a mess. I'm not going to go into it, but let's just say it mirrors the Michael Jackson scandal. I really can't say a lot about the movie. Too much. I can't give it too much praise. But I will tell you this. One of the more interesting sequences in the movie, or one of the most adrenaline-filled, I should say, is a montage set to the song Machine Gun. Now, Machine Gun was just a song, didn't have no words to it. It just went da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it was great. And they put it in the background of a scene montage where Dirk starts to get really famous. And it really works, and it gives you a sense of reality. The other thing that almost gives you a sense of reality was the fact that this is pretty much an accurate portrayal of what happened. And I think this was up for Best Picture now that I remember, because I remember at one of the Academy Awards shows seeing a clip of Heather Graham and Julianne Moore doing coke all day in the room, and that's the clip that they used. Where Heather Graham says, "I want you to be my mom today. You're going to be my mom." And Julianne Moore's like, "Okay, I'm your mom, baby." And it was played real cheesy, and I didn't understand it because, like I said, I didn't see the movie till much later. So I think it was up for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Co-Star Burt Reynolds at that time. So if you're looking for sort of a biography deal, check Boogie Nights out. I think it really works, and it's one of my favorite movies because I love biographies. I love anything that goes graphic and goes deep and gets to the heart of the matter and pulls no punches. And Paul Wes Anderson's film does not. It is intense, and it shows you the highs and lows of a business that is all pretty much gone from the way it was. It changed, it modified itself. And instead of going to see porno in the theater now, where it was supposed to be enjoyed, anybody can pull up any porn movie from company sites and watch them via YouTube, via website, or you can order them online. So things have changed. But New Line Cinema and Paul Wes Anderson hit 3 home runs for the price of 1 in this film. If you watch it, it's pretty awesome. Alright, so now we got Boogie Nights put on the shelf, and I want to thank everybody for waiting patiently. I know it was only a day, but if you wanted to hear about that movie, I hope it was worth it. Now we're going to jump back into horror, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about a movie written by Christopher Ford and John Watts. It was produced by Eli Roth. And it's a strange little hit, and I don't think it was, theatrically rated. It was called Clown. Clown tells the story of a boy whose father would like to do anything for them. So he finds an old clown outfit, and he's going to dress up to become a clown at his kid's birthday party. 6th birthday party, to be exact. The funny thing is that this takes an interesting take on it, because when he puts on the costume, he cannot take it off. It's very unique. It was put out by Dimension Pictures and Radius. He cannot take off the clown costume. Then what happens is a horrible transformation starts. He starts turning into a demonic clown. And it is unique because up until this film, guys, I think, there were just killer clowns. Outfits could come on and off. Not this one. This one takes a dark turn in which this clown outfit, you find out, is possessed. And basically, is there a way to stop what's going on? I'm not going to tell you that. Stars Laura Ellen, Andy Powers, and Peter Stormare. Peter Stormare, guys, you might remember, was one of the nihilists in The Big Lebowski. He's been on other stuff, but that's where he was most recognizable. This was under the Harvey Weinstein era. I don't know if we should hold him responsible for this or not. I just don't like what he did. Sorry, guys, I got to throw that out there. As a producer or a distributor, I think he's cool. But as a person, I think he's garbage. Sorry. I'm looking at this guy's name, and there are two interesting names in here. James Holt, Robert Mendez, and here's where it goes. Helen Cappuccino and Andrew Cappuccino. That's pretty cool. I mean, apparently that's our favorite drink. They probably get teased for it all the time. Produced by Eli Roth, which I told you. This is put out by Anchor Bay. And I'm going to read the back of it just because we summarized the whole thing. We might as well go right to it. Clown is a story of a loving father who dons a clown outfit and makeup to perform for his son's 6th birthday, only to discover that the costume, the red nose and wig included, will not come off, and his own personality changes in a horrific fashion. To break the curse of the evil outfit, the father must make grim choices with his own family facing danger. Now, normally if I saw a film like this that didn't get any theatrical trailer run, which this didn't, it didn't get a theatrical, I don't think it actually got a theatrical run. And if it did, it was very limited. I would have passed it up 9 times out of 10. I would have looked at it and went, garbage. But this film that Christopher Ford and John Watts had written is very successful because it does take a new direction. It's rated R for gore, of course. The final showdown of this film takes place in a Chuck E. Cheese-like arcade, which was pretty neat. I think this was set, it's either the early 90s this film was set on. Now, one of the cool things about this movie is when you see the transformation, it just gets darker and darker. It's sort of like a mutated version of Pennywise toward the very end. But this is a film that still to this day slips on the radar. You ask anybody, what's your favorite horror movie within 10 years? They're going to name anything but Clown, I'm telling you. But it has something going for it. And it's an hour and 39 minutes, so it's not really that long. So if you guys get a minute, check it out. And it's more one of the unique takes on an old horror staple, the killer clown. Speaking of killer clowns, there's all kinds of killer clowns in Hollywood. We have Pennywise. We have a movie called Fear the Clowns. We have Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That is a wild movie. Killer clowns come in from outer space. The only way you can kill them is you punch them in the red nose, and they turn people into cotton candy. They put them in cotton candy cocoons. It's pretty interesting. If you haven't seen it, definitely look up that ridiculous piece of footage, because it's definitely entertaining. It was made by the same people that made the Critters creatures. They designed the Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That's how you know. But yeah, guys, check those two out, and let me know what you think about Clown. Like I said, it's one of the more interesting films to come out, in the recent recent time frame, and it's actually believable. You know, it's one of these ones that takes a direction where you don't think it's going to be. It's kind of like that game I played a while back, Until Dawn, where you go into it thinking one thing. Even on the cover, you're like, all right, there's a slasher going around killing teens. We're going to play as one of the teens. We're going to figure out who the slasher is. By the end of the film, or the end of the game, rather, you're just like, whoa, that is not what I had thought it was going to be. Same with Clown. You look it up, you look at the cover, you say, all right, this guy's a clown. He's going around killing people. This is what it is. But when you watch the movie and you see what direction it takes, it's really surprising. It's a refreshing horror film, and I think John Watts did a hell of a good job with this. And I haven't really seen a horror film quite like this in some time. So with that being said, we'll put movie talk in the books. We talked about Boogie Nights, which again is a hell of a ride. And we talked about Clown. Two different films on both ends of the spectrum. One's drama and biography. One's straight up horror. Check it out. I also want to mention and share it, Friday the 13th 3D. I want to make one little final note because I always like to do this sometimes at the end of a review. Whenever that film was shot, the traditional 3D could not be used in theaters. So they had to revert. So when it came on home video, a lot of the kills were flattened. Basically means like, you know, unless you had a 3D TV and a multi-million-dollar 3D display, you could not watch that. They released it years later in the collector's edition DVD with the red and green glasses or red and blue glasses, you know, them little paper ones you put on. It did okay. But no machete stick out of your TV. No eyeballs flying in your TV. In fact, the 3D was so bad in there, when they did the flying eyeball trick, if you look closely, you can see the wire hanging down. But it was a valiant first effort. It was on par with Jaws 3D. It was the same type of 3D. I think they call it stereoscopic 3D. And it really didn't work for anywhere but a theater. Now, they should redo it and make a definitive version where the eyeballs pop out of the head, the machete comes out of the TV. That would give you a better sense. But for the time, it was experimental 3D, and it did okay. Guess everyone wanted to see Jason come after him. So you can look that up on why the 3D on Friday the 13th was not that good. And there's even a documentary about it in the history of the Friday the 13th franchise, which you can find on Shudder. They do a whole thing about number 3 because it was, like I said, one of the first 3D movies. Anyway, that's movie talk. We're going to put it in the books, and we'll see you next week.